Hi there, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be doing just a quick everyday effortless makeup look. I'm going to be using some new products, and I'm also going to be really highlighting how to use powder foundation and how to get it look nice and natural, especially for the spring and summer coming up. This video is sponsored by e.l.f., so I'm also going to be highlighting and showcasing some products from e.l.f. throughout this tutorial. Obviously, as with every makeup tutorial, the most important thing is cleansing and prepping the skin. One of the things that I think makes a really big difference, especially if you have a drier skin type, is taking just a touch of facial oil. So I'm gonna use this one, it's from La Mer, and I'm just gonna do probably like 1 or 2 drops, just barely any. Far less than you would use if you were using it for your skincare. And I'm just gonna press this lightly all over the skin. This oil is just going to lay underneath the primer, and it's also just gonna give the skin just that little extra bit of slip. If you don't have dry skin, I'm sure you could skip out on this step, but if you do have a drier skin type, 1 or 2 drops of a facial oil underneath your primer, because it'll really just give your skin that extra just touch of slip so that the powder doesn't drag or cling, so that it just blends out a little bit more smooth. To prime my skin, I'm gonna be using the e.l.f. Serum Primer. This is in the Glow version. If you don't have dry skin, you can totally skip out on the oil and just go straight in with the primer serum. I'm gonna use a little bit more of this, and I'm just gonna lightly apply this all over my entire face. When I'm doing powder foundation, I really want to be using these light fluid serum-like primers, because if you use anything that's like too sticky or too grippy, or a silicone primer, it just doesn't, the powder doesn't play well with it. So you want to use primers that are more kind of like skincare, so that they get absorbed into the skin and the powder foundation isn't competing with the primer underneath it. Moving into foundation, so we're gonna be using the e.l.f. Camo Powder Foundation. I use the shade Medium 330W, which is the same shade that I use in the e.l.f. Camo CC Cream. And the brush I'm gonna blend this out with, I would just like pick up the product like this. Oops, I picked up way too much. I'm using an e.l.f. Ultimate Blending Brush. I really like how this is nice and dense, and I can apply it really similar as to how I would apply a liquid foundation. So the way I like to apply powder foundation is really similar to liquid. I just start by almost stippling it exactly where I want the most coverage, and then from there, blend it out, and you'll see it's really quite buildable, and it does give you a really nice natural coverage. And anywhere I want extra coverage, really just patting and pushing it in. And I'll show you how quick and easy you can blend this into the skin and get a really fast, natural looking application. And you're really seeing live how quick and easy this is to blend out. Look at this side of my face versus this side of my face. This side is just so much more even toned, and it looks really natural. So even though I have dry skin, I can still make it work for me by using the right products underneath. You really don't wanna overload the skin with a ton of primer. You wanna focus more on getting your skin nice and prepped and ready for the powder foundation. And you can get one of the easiest, fastest applications of foundation with powder. So this is also a really great brush. So I'll show you again. We just pick up a little bit of the product with a stipple, you can see. And then once I've got it laid down, I just blend upward. This powder also doesn't emphasize dryness, so it's really nice even if you do have dry skin. It gives you just like such pretty quick, easy coverage. I'd also personally recommend when you're doing the powder foundation that you use a brush versus the little sponge applicator that it comes with. I rarely ever will use that for the actual application. It's nice to have if you want to do a touch-up, but for the most like flawless application, I definitely think go in with a brush. And you can see that was just like sub a minute, maybe 2 minutes. I was obviously talking, so it took me a little bit more time, but it's like one of the fastest, easiest ways to get some quick, natural looking coverage on your face. I'm just gonna brighten up under my eyes with the e.l.f. Hydrating Camo Concealer. This stuff has a lot of coverage, so a little bit goes a long way. The only way that I wear powder foundation is I put cream on top of it, like I would put it on top of a liquid foundation. When I'm blending this out, I'm going back and forth between my fingertips and a little concealer brush just to give myself a little bit more of a soft blend. And this concealer is the shade Medium Warm, so I really like how it just gives me that instant like beamed up bright looking under eye. Just to add a little bit more warmth onto my skin, I'm gonna bronze. I'm using the Chanel 395 cream bronzer. I'm just gonna pick that up on a brush. And I'm just going to lightly apply this. And I'm just gonna lightly apply this around the perimeter of my face, just kind of swirling it and bringing it a little bit into the apples of the cheeks. I'm also gonna take a little bit of the bronzer on an eyeshadow brush and just knock that right into the crease of my eye. And a little bit down the sides of my nose for just a little contour. And I love a really pretty kind of like bright punchy blush. So I'm gonna use Bahamas. This is from e.l.f. and I'm just picking it up on an e.l.f. Flawless Face Brush. And I'm gonna apply this like I would a powder blush. You can apply it with your fingertips if you want, but I feel like these just apply so much prettier if you use a brush, because then you get a little bit more of like a diffused look. And I just feel like I have a lot more control over where I apply them and the intensity of them when I use a brush. I just get like a little bit more of like a, you know, softer look. I'm also gonna pick the blush up on the same brush that I used for applying the cream bronzer into my eyelid. And I'm gonna apply the cream blush right into my eyelids as well. This is the e.l.f. No Budge Shadow Stick in the shade Champagne Crystal. I'm literally just going to sweep this lightly over my eyes. And then if you sheer it out, you just get a little bit more of kind of like a wet shine look. So just apply that all over the eyelids, blend it out with my fingertips, my brow bones, just to highlight right there. I'm gonna put a little bit of lip balm on really quick. I'm using Tough Cookie, my literal favorite that I've talked about for at least 2 years or over a year at this point, but I really like this lip balm. We're gonna fill in the brows. I'm going to use my Chanel Stylo Waterproof Defining Brow Pencil. I'm gonna set the brows down with the Kosas Air Brow, just to give my skin like a little bit of extra glow on the high points. I'm gonna use the Vision Flush from Danessa Myricks. What I like to do is pop it on the back of my hand, just like this, and then pick it up on a brush, and then that way I can use it a little bit easier, and it's just more natural of an application in my opinion. You can totally apply it straight to the skin and blend it out with your fingertips, but I feel like when I do brush application, it just looks like it's, you know, barely there, and it looks super natural. So I always like to apply it with a brush. And the nice thing about this highlight too is like, even though it's a little bit more creamy, it's really not sticky at all. I'm going to do a little bit of lip liner. I'm using Chanel 162, which is the shade Nude. I'm gonna do a light coat of mascara, so I'm gonna use Dior Show in the waterproof version. Lower lashes 2. This is also a lip combo that I really like right now. So I'm going to use Very Victoria from Charlotte Tilbury. Soft, nice, natural pink. And then I'm gonna take the e.l.f. Hydrating Core Lip Shine in Blissful. The e.l.f. one gives it a little bit more shine and slip, so that the Charlotte one's not quite so like matte and drying. All right, so this is the finished look. I will zoom you in so you can really see the powder foundation looks so nice. Like, it doesn't look drying, or, you know, it's not clinging to any of the dry patches that I have around my nose. And the nice thing about powder foundation as well is if you do have any, you know, visible texture or a couple blemishes, it is by far one of the best options for disguising that and not bringing it to light, because I know a lot of times liquid foundations can almost kind of emphasize the texture on your skin, and with powder it just helps kind of blur it and set it down. So the e.l.f. one is really nice because even though it is a powder, it's like more on the creamy side. So even if you're not particularly familiar with powder foundation, it's really easy and intuitive to use. I would just definitely suggest that when you do use powder foundation that you try using a brush that's more similar to something that you would apply your liquid foundation with, just so that you can really blend and apply it as seamlessly as possible. And I can't emphasize this enough, try not to use a primer that's overly sticky or overly slippy, because that's kind of gonna compete with the way that your foundation applies. You don't wanna have too much skincare on, too much primer. You really just want your skin to be prepped without being like overly prepped. So I really hope that this, technique and application video was helpful for you. I will zoom you out now because I know we're like really close. So yeah, I really hope that this was helpful for you. I will list and link everything in the description box down below. If there are any other new products that you really want to see me use or make a tutorial with or a review, please be sure to leave it in the comments down below and let me know. But other than that, that's everything I wanted to hit in this video. So I will see you in my next one. Thank you so much for watching this one. Bye everyone.